So the inspiration for this video is that I received a few comments over the last couple of uploads saying, you know, of course your Spanish is so good. You've been traveling and living in Latin America for the past year and a bit more. But here's the thing, I've met people who've been out here for years, living, traveling, working, whatever, and they still can't hold a proper conversation in Spanish. Traveling or living in Latin America doesn't automatically make you fluent. And in some cases, funnily enough, it can actually make it harder. So in this video, I want to break down why most travelers never actually learn Spanish and what you can do differently to make the most of your time out here in Latin America. So yeah, firstly, I just want to touch on the immersion myth, because it's easy to assume that being surrounded by Spanish when you're out in Latin America automatically means that you'll learn it or you'll acquire it. But the thing is, immersion only works if you're engaging with the language. For example, it's like if I was to put on a Chinese podcast just now in Mandarin, yes, I would technically be immersed in the language, but because I don't even have like the basic level comprehension in the language, then I won't really be engaging with it because I don't understand. I won't have any interest in the message that's trying to be told because I'm totally lost. You know, case in point, I've met people who are like, you know, digital nomads or people who have set up their businesses out here and have been living here for years, whether that be in Peru, in Colombia, in Mexico, and they still struggle, like some of them still struggle with basic conversations. So yeah, like Spanish immersion isn't an automatic given in acquiring the language if you're not engaging with it. Also, there's this effect that I want to call the travel trap. This idea or effect was actually inspired by a great video that was put out a while ago by Matt Brooks Green. And in this video, Matt talks about his holiday trip to Spain after spending months learning Spanish through the Comprehensible input method. And when he was on his trip with his partner, he actually came to the realization that he was engaging with Spanish and practicing less in Spain than he had done when he was back home in his regular routine. This video really stuck with me because it's so true. You know, when you're away from home, when you're traveling or on a trip or on a holiday, you're sightseeing, you're going on tours, you're meeting new people, but most interactions in this sort of bubble really can be short, shallow, and mostly in English. You know, for example, if you're jumping from hostel to hostel in Latin America in different countries, the universal language in these hostels is always going to be English, you know, because you've got people from Europe, from the States, from all over the world, and like it or not, English is the universal language that everyone will default to in these diverse social circles. So yeah, you'll find yourself, you know, hanging out with these people because they're fun, they're cool, they're new, and it is, I'm not saying that this is negative, you know, to have fun and enjoy your life. It's just that you really don't have much exposure to Spanish in this sort of bubble, in this world, this hostel bouncing world, I don't know, in the backpacking community. So this means, funnily enough, that even if you're in a Spanish-speaking country, your level of exposure to the language can go down in comparison to when you're in your sort of daily routine at home, just kind of, you know, absorbing Spanish through content. Yeah, so this brings me on to the sort of missing ingredient that I see in travellers that come out here and expect or want to learn Spanish and expect they'll be able to learn Spanish just from being here. So that most of the time they don't have a plan. And the thing is, if you come out to Latin America without a plan on how to learn Spanish or an idea of how to learn Spanish, you're going to burn out quite easily. You know, it's quite a common pattern that I see in backpackers that are interested in learning Spanish. They settle down for about a week or two, maybe go to a homestay or in a hostel, and they go to a local school. They try a few classes, but like little by little, you know, after the sort of initial buzz of feeling that they're learning through vocabulary and grammar rules, they get overwhelmed by the amount that there is to actually learning a language and retreat back to staying in English because it's just not worth the effort, or they don't have the overall big picture of what it takes to learn a second language. And retreating to English, the thing is, it's such an easy thing to do in Latin America. Yes, of course, not a lot of the locals speak English, but there's always going to be communities, there's always going to be backpackers in Latin America that speak English, and this can work as like a safe haven for people who are trying to learn Spanish and decide, oh, it's just too difficult, like I'm just going to chill with my friends in order to speak English and all the rest of it. And I'm not speaking ill of these people. I think different people have different objectives, and if you just want to come to Latin America and have a good time with friends, have social experiences, like create memories that will last a lifetime, I think all the power to those people, because it's something that I want to do as well. But yeah, this area of ability to retreat into English is such an easy out, and you see a lot of backpackers especially taking that route. So this brings me on to my biggest advice, or like the missing ingredient that I see a lot of people coming out to Latin America trying to learn Spanish and not having it in mind, is start learning before you arrive in the country. You know, before I took my flight to the first country that I visited in Latin America, in Colombia, I did about 350 hours of Dreaming Spanish comprehensible input through videos and podcasts. You know, and I'd actually done research on how to learn a language, and you know, I kind of looked up online, digested this idea of the input or the acquisition hypothesis set out by Stephen Krashen, and I'd actually seen results in my Spanish comprehension in my country before coming out here, so I knew that it was working, and if I kept at it, that I would see more improvement, or I had faith at least in some method. And honestly, this made all the difference in my ability to learn while out in Latin America. Another point I'd like to add, and to help people who want to try and learn Spanish while traveling and living in Latin America, is just slow down. Like 2 words, slow down. Jumping from place to place, you know, in the backpacker circuit is a lot of fun, and you meet a lot of fun people, you have like great time. If you want to learn Spanish, I'm afraid it's not going to be very efficient. You know, it doesn't have to be like straight away that you settle down if you're on some big like trip, but when you find somewhere that you vibe with, try and settle down for like an extended period of time. Find a school that's nearby, find an apartment to share with locals, find some sort of living arrangement that's going to give you more effective daily habits, that's going to expose you and engage you with the language daily. And forget grammar drills, textbooks and vocabulary lists. Just focus on conversation and comprehensible input. I'm not going to go into what comprehensible input is in this video, you can look it up online, but I'll maybe leave a link in the description to the Dreaming Spanish method that gives like a good sort of thorough understanding of what it's about. You know, and in these schools, find an appropriate tutor that adapts to your level, and treat these classes like a chat with a friend. You know, sitting down for a coffee with a pal and just catching up for an hour or 2 a day. That really is where the magic happens in language acquisition, especially with one-on-one tutorship. Just to make this clear, I'm not saying that me being out here for an extended period of time, over a year in Latin America, hasn't helped me in my acquisition of Spanish. It 100% has. But the real reason that I've improved during my time out here is because I knew how to make the most of it. You know, this idea of comprehensible input and the input hypothesis, the acquisition hypothesis, gave me the framework to learn, and travel gave me the time. So just to finish up, if you're planning on coming out to Latin America to learn Spanish, please don't solely just rely on geography, rely on habits. And if you want to see how different Spanish schools in Latin America compare, I've personally been to a Spanish school in Colombia, Bolivia and Guatemala. Stay tuned, because I think that's going to be a video that's coming soon. I think there'll be a lot of people that'll be interested in that. Ciao chicos!